Good, then welcome back to our working group meeting. So on the agenda, we have two smaller topics and then the CF Linux FS4 release. So last time we discussed a list of items. Most of them are either done or I have created backlog items in our SAP backlog for handling things. Yeah, good news is overall good news. A CF deployment release process works. So we have, I think, cut now 3 releases, also incompatible one. So this is all really working very nicely, and it's also pretty much fully automated. You just have to inspect the changes and decide what to release. The only thing that is not so nice is that some of the jobs here are still, yeah, a bit flaky, and we see Bosch timeouts and failing CATS tests. But okay, I hope that when we migrate the remaining GCP environments to the Europe zone, then this should become better. But okay, so for the uptimer, there is a little bit of a mess at the moment. So we have one pull request from July, which migrates to Go modules, and yeah, maybe I should have already merged it. Because now it conflicts with this Corifi pull request, which makes changes in the vendor dependencies. So yeah, looks not so nice. I
think the only difference between these two is the first one is updating from dep to gomod and keeping the vendor directory, and the new one is doing the same thing but deleting the vendor directory. So we really just need to decide, do we want to keep the vendor directory or not?
Yeah, that's a valid question. And so we, to my understanding, if we have a Go module definition, we don't need vendored dependencies anymore.
We may want to keep them just to make running the app faster, though.
Okay, keep for the app to run faster. Okay.
Yeah, it's vendor dependencies tends to be better for things that you're going to build and run on the spot, like Bosch releases or CLIs. If it's a library that we're just going to import other places, vendor probably doesn't serve much purpose.
I'm assuming because we're doing just like go run main.go.
Might be better to have the to have the vendor.
Would it help if we compiled uptimer in the Docker image?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, then you just run a binary, right?
Right.
I don't think there's. If you already have everything vendored, then I don't think go run and running the binary is going to do much in terms of the actual startup. Because Go compilation is really fast, but passing a binary around is a lot lighter than passing an entire repository around. So
it maybe means we could get rid of, I don't know what else we're using Go for in that image, but if we could get rid of the Go at the runtime level and just have it in the build stage, that would improve security as well, presumably.
Okay.
There is one other issue with uptimer. Historically, it had a develop main workflow.
Yes.
We diverged from that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And started making changes directly to main. And so we probably should either clean that up or just say, yes, we're abandoning develop, delete it, and have a main only workflow, probably at that point with cutting releases, I would guess, for stability, for stable versions.
Yeah. So last time we somewhat agreed that we don't really need a release process here. I mean, if this project is stable and
Okay,
then we can simply use pull requests to main for enhancements.
I see. Okay, I didn't realize we talked. I wasn't here last. I don't think I was here
Yeah.
last meeting.
Ah,
So
okay.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
okay, good. So then we should try to get the PRs merged, keep vendor, and maybe add a few. Is there something about the development process here? Okay, maybe I should add a few lines how development process is supposed to look like. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay, that should be feasible. Yeah, then next thing was the CF test helpers. Here we still want to cut releases, but if I'm not wrong, we do not have a release process or a release pipeline for that one. Is that still somewhere hidden on your concourse, or
No.
we don't have anything?
No, it used to be tested essentially by being immediately pulled into CF smoke tests and CF acceptance tests, and then
Okay.
CF acceptance test CI and CF smoke test CI would run through. We stopped doing that because anytime we introduced like a bug into CF test helpers or like had changes that built off each other, everything would break without having a chance to make the changes in CF acceptance tests or CF test helpers. Since we made that switch though, I've just been releasing it with git tag, git push tags, and then cutting manual releases. GitHub Actions is pretty comprehensive for testing it, but it probably would be better to have a concourse pipeline so it's more discoverable for the folks in this working group, since all of our things are already on concourse.
Yeah, so this one has unit tests somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think in all the individual packages there are unit tests.
Yeah, okay. So we could have a simple pipeline which runs the tests and then ships a release on. Yeah. Okay. Good. It has Go modules and no vendor. Yeah. Good. Okay. So then we would create a concourse pipeline for releasing that one, similar to the other ones. That should not be too much effort.
I think there was a question in my mind of whether we should be cutting real Semver releases for this thing, or whether we should just say this thing is always subject to change depending on our needs, and it's not actually, and make it just like minor releases every single time. But given we've already started down the Semver road, it's probably fine to keep going until we see a reason to switch that.
Are you thinking that the release process is going to be automatic whenever the tests pass, or do you want it to be a manual job that you trigger?
I would, if we're going to switch, since it already has only a main only branch, I would probably lean away from automatic jobs. Is that right?
It has only main. Yes, there is no develop branch.
I mean, manual. I'll let you finish your thought.
No, you go. I'm still looking to read.
I was just going to say manual is definitely easier from the perspective of you can look at the changes and decide is it breaking or not. If you're doing it automatically, then you kind of have to say, oh yes, I'm merging this change. Let me quickly bump to the next major before the automatic job runs, so that it cuts the correct release.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably fun to stick with manual. It's not like we make that many changes to this thing. The only The advantage of automatic in my head is that we could get Dependabot PRs for free, which might be nice.
Well, we'll still get the PRs for free. It's just only when we decide to kind of release, presumably.
That's true.
So I mean, we can always start manual, and if we feel like we're forgetting and it's too painful, we could switch to automatic.
Yeah,
Cool.
Not difficult.
yeah. Okay, good. Then let's start with a manual process, and I mean it's better than what we have now, and see if that works out or not. Yeah. Okay, good. Then biggest topic for today and the most important one is the CF Linux FS4 migration. Stefan has already prepared a few notes. So what we already have is this more or less empty issue opened from Greg on September 13th. So I think he opened similar issues on the other projects. Yeah, and we are supposed to migrate to FS4. So the rough idea is that we provide experimental ops files for deploying FS4, for adding the FS4 stack to CF deployment, and possibly making this the default stack. We should validate this with the acceptance tests, which can be configured to use FS4. And yeah, what we need is all build packs to be compatible with FS4. Stefan, do you want to show?
Yeah, I could do it.
We
share my screen.
just today.
So, oh God.
Does it work, or do you need Zoom permissions?
Of course, I need Zoom permissions, and I on the Mac somehow I need.
Yeah.
Oh God, I like it. I'm afraid I'm shortly gone and then have to rejoin. That's.
Yeah. Okay, then do so. Yeah.
Sounds like giving a talk at CF Day.
Yeah, that would have been a good talk. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking in terms of getting all the audio and everything up and running and working out for everybody. There's always something.
I seem to remember the major technical glitch of the day was your presentation.
Oh yes, our live demo will live in infamy. Yes, it was good. I mean, you've got to leave people talking about what you presented. So
definitely
one way or the other.
What? So I'm back, but I don't know whether I can now share.
Yeah.
Do you see something?
Yes.
That's perfect. Okay, so I went through all this CF Linux FS4 to see what is actually already available and what not, because I have the feeling there's some work done, some work is missing, and I don't know what are the next steps. So what we do have is a CF Linux FS4 release, which is there since quite some time, but this one alone is not of much use. Then I went through all the build packs, and I see that, let's say, half of the build packs have CF Linux FS4 support, but there's another half that doesn't have it from the list of build packs that are included in CF deployment. So the first question is, let's say, how to continue here. One possibility is, of course, to open simply tickets or issues on all these build pack projects and simply ask about the plan. What we could do independent of whether all the build packs are available, we could already, let's say, start with some experimental ops files to include CF Linux FS4 and the supported build packs right away, right? I mean, then, yeah, there's, for instance, a static build pack missing for now, but as soon as it is ready, we can, yeah, add it again, would be one option. Another question that came up to me is the strategy of the build packs this time is to have, at least on the project level, one build pack that is supposed to handle CF Linux FS3 and FS4. So it's actually the same binary. If I look into the Bosch releases, then out of the same sources, there are still two different packages built, one for 3 and one for 4. So the question here is, do we want to upload both of them as it was done from CF Linux FS2 to 3? But here I think the build packs had really, they were somehow different. This is something I don't know. If we just continue as projects are structured, we would upload the build packs 2 times. And if I understood it correctly, it would be exactly the same build pack, just once with a 3 tag and once with a 4 tag, and that's it. I don't know if that's a strategy or not. I don't know who could give you some guidance.
Wouldn't both packages be available from the single Bosch release upload? You just have to include them in the, you'd have to include the corresponding jobs on the, in the instance.
That's right. From the
Right.
It's the same Bosch release. Then you have the 2 packages, but
Mm-hmm.
in the end of the day, it means that 2 times the build pack is uploaded via the cloud controller to the into Cloud Foundry, which
That
means
makes
a
it-
lot of upload. And if you have offline build packs, they are really huge,
Right.
etc.
I mean, that makes it really difficult, because normally, historically, you would just be able to say there are 2 stacks available and you can pick and choose between them when you push your app. But now we can't. I mean, unless you actually co-locate both.
No, I think it's independent. Of course, you have 2 stacks, first of all. They are both there, and you can pick and choose in your manifest or whatever when you push an application. But then a build pack is selected. And if I remember correctly, the selection mechanism looks if the build pack is, let's say, tagged with a stack. And then it chooses either the 3 or the 4 version of it. But you can also have build packs that do not have a stack tag, and then this one is used because it's suitable for all stacks.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking about it more from a platform operator's perspective of how they create a platform that both stacks are available. But I guess you can just co-locate both onto the appropriate instances, and then they'd both be available at that point. So we should still be okay.
Yeah, this is something.
Sorry, if it's just the Java build pack that's special, maybe this is related to the like auto wiring stuff that's going down. I've been hearing something about how the Java build pack is changing some of their default auto configuration things. There's been warnings for some time, and that's kicking in starting recently. Maybe they have 2 different build packs because one is tagged in such a way that it's completely turned off.
It's for all of them. It's just one release. If I go to the Java build pack project, it's just one release, nothing more. And they specify it's for 3 and 4. And then if you go into the Java build pack Bosch release, then you suddenly see that out of the same sources, the Java build pack, 2 different packages are created just by copying the same stuff. We can look inside.
Sure. Are the knobs any different that they're turning when they create the thing though?
I don't see anything. So if you go to this release, it's just one. And you have here the assets, one Java build pack zip file. That's it. And if we go to the, we have to. Is it called minus release? Is it correct? Yeah. Then we see 2 packages, and you have one for 3. It simply takes this package. Then it writes this tag into a manifest, and that's it. And if we go to the...
Interestingly, there seems to be only one job, though, and it just includes both packages.
Yeah.
What is the, okay, that's weird. Yeah, fair enough. No idea.
I think it came from the from 4 years ago. There we had really different build packs. This was a different strategy, and they were really it took a long time to implement this mechanism. And so yeah, this is something we need to decide how to. We could continue with the existing mechanism, and then it's just some overhead. And I mean, after CF Linux FS3 gets deleted, all the stuff goes away. That's simple, straightforward way. It's a little bit overhead during the time when both stacks are available, but yeah, who cares, right? Would also be a way, but this is at least a question. And of course, is there any roadmap for the missing build packs? That's also something I don't know. And I had the idea to take this table here and basically add it to this ticket that Greg opened, and then start a discussion from there, and to ask and maybe invite to a meeting with Greg, and to discuss the next steps. I don't know if you have heard some plans, etc., within VMware, but because the worst thing that could happen is that the build pack folks are writing and saying, okay, yeah, we have done everything. The stack is there, the build packs are there, we are waiting. And we in CF deployment, we do the same. Yeah, we expect somehow that somebody comes up with the integration in CF deployment, but nothing happens, and then time passes, and yeah. So that's why I wanted to bring a bit discussion and visibility about what is the current status and what would be the next steps. Good. And then regarding the integration into CF deployment, I mean, I think we could already today start with adding some experimental op files that ships CF Linux FS4 and the list of supported build packs as opt-in. It's just there, it could be used. And then we could also have a second experimental build file that adds or that switches CF Linux FS4 as default stack. That's not because I want to do it today, but it's just so that we can run cuts against them. And that would be then, yeah, the question, how would we start with testing to see how far we are meanwhile with CF Linux FS4? So there are 2 options. We could, because it's experimental ops files, we could simply add it to this experimental run in CF deployment. However, as long as there's a long list of missing build packs, I'm not sure whether we have the slightest chance to get the build pack, the cut screen, and then it would block development. So maybe it's better to have a separate pipeline and start from there. Then we see all the failing stuff and could, yeah, again, open bugs and go from there. So maybe that's the more realistic way to have a separate pipeline. Similar to what we had with Jammy in the beginning, now with Bionic, just a small thing with cuts running, and then I guess we should really open bugs on everything that fails, including the missing build packs.
Right. I mean, my personal feeling might be that until we know that we have a set of build packs that are supposed to be compatible, running anything in CI is possibly, we know it's going to fail on something. So is there any benefit in having a pipeline until all of the build packs are checked off? I don't know.
Well,
I guess fast feedback on the ones that do have them.
Yeah, and to have to see whether the stack runs at all. I mean, there could be interesting things like, and we do have, let's say, a few major build packs where at least some cats should succeed. I mean, the R build pack, well, who cares, right? So much. There is for sure a certain test. I don't know how good configurable the cats are, whether we could, let's say, exclude certain build packs. But of course, there are also other cross-cutting concern. I could imagine that the Nginx or binary or static file build pack are used because they are the fastest build packs that exist. So maybe they are. And then, of course, a lot of stuff fails. But yeah, if we have at least 1 or 2 Java, Python, Go applications working, then we already know that this is goes in the right direction. So
two experimental ops files make sense to me, at the very least. Beyond that, yeah, definitely shouldn't go in experimental Hermione while it's going to continuously fail. Pipelines or manual tests, I'm down for either in the interim.
Okay, then I would somehow, at least the table part of this document, put into Greg's bug, just to make it a bit more visible what we are doing, and then we could start to work on these experimental ops files and probably a separate pipeline to see what is running and what is not running, and then we go from there. I don't know how it works out for your Cloud Foundry installations. From let's say SAP points of view, we would really like to have the C of Linux 4 support as soon as possible, so that we can offer it as opt-in and give our customers, let's say, a chance to learn about it and to check the migrations. Because our plan is still that with the when Bionic expires from standard support, that means April, May, we really want to delete it, and we can only do it if we offered a little bit ahead of time the option to migrate over. That's why I'm a bit nervous when we don't have anything on C of Linux FS4. It's now already close, end of the year. But yep, I mean, there are a few steps that we from the working group can do are not blocked, and then the build pack support, that's something that's like it is.
I just checked one of the CI environments that happens to be running at the moment, and on the API node, I do see all of the CF Linux FS4 packages already, alongside the CF Linux FS3 ones. So compiling each of the build packs, it's pulling everything in. So we don't have to worry about uploading everything twice.
Oh, okay.
Everything's already there. So that makes life, I think, a bit easier, because we just have to worry about updating the stack and the list of build packs that CCNG knows about.
But it means that we specify then the build packs twice, right? Once for
in the list of available build packs, yes.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
In terms of a box release, but yes, that section where you actually list out the stack and all of the available build packs, we just duplicate that. Yes.
Okay, so we then we keep with the existing setup. That makes it easier for now. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess I would. Oh.
Yeah. No, this sounds great. I think this is very similar to the work that we did when we went from FS2 to FS3. So yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Good. Yeah, that was the.
For making cats work with multiple stacks, there's a potential for, we already take in a stack's input. Maybe we can use that in some way to determine what options we have to run against.
I was actually betting on this ops file here. Simply in this environment, we switch C of Linux FS4 as a default stack, and then cats will run against it, right? What
definitely, definitely easier. Yeah,
that was my idea.
Reading ahead to your to-do cats.
I think cats have an option for choosing the stack.
Okay, so we could also configure it simply and.
or can you, yeah,
I don't know.
can't they even accept both? I mean, you have to check this integration config thing, if it allows to, I think it allows to define a specific stack, but maybe not both.
Yeah, let's see. Can be done in the implementation. What is easier? I
Yeah.
mean, either enable this ops file, switch over, or configure cuts for this run explicitly. Both is probably possible. Okay. And there was one minor thing I just wanted to raise your attention, because that's currently discussed in the TOC. Where is it? Yeah. In the TOC, you may have heard of it. We discuss a schema for default Git branch protection. That's now in the final week of comments. So if you, I don't know, in CF deployment, etc., have some special setup, I don't think so. It should work. But just yeah, to point you to that, because I will probably start tomorrow, or yeah, in the next week, to start with the automation of the settings, similar to the GitHub team automation, and then one day we will apply those rules. I am pretty sure there will also be an option to configure project-specific settings if that's really needed for certain things. I don't know yet, but
would this be the default for all Git repositories, or for each?
For all.
For all.
So, because the general recommendation from the TOC is simply that we switch to the PR workflow.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of discussion. I mean, it's not that strict, right? We simply configure the default branch and version branches if they exist. I mean, by naming pattern, enforce that you work with PRs. The bots can, of course, still commit directly, but only the bots, nobody else. And we will configure a number of approvals needed on these PRs, depending on the size of the area, workgroup area, because there are very small ones where, you need to be able to work. And if it's a bit bigger, so I guess for CF deployment, it means we need per PR one approval.
Question. Does the branch protector tool wipe out any branch protections besides those protections?
I guess so. At least I haven't looked at this tool in detail yet. I have to say this is again one of these Kubernetes automation tools.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, they apply for the settings that the tool can handle. These are really applied, and it consolidates to the states that you configured in Git.
Okay. Well, we'll want to watch out for that then, because we have what CFD and CF acceptance tests both use the develop release candidate main flow. So we need to protect more things.
Okay, and let's do it like this. As I don't know yet how the configuration will really be structured and where in the community repo it can be configured. Once I have some ideas and a little bit automation in place, and before it gets applied, I'm pretty sure we will talk again in one of the workgroup meetings and see how we can handle special configuration. If you want to have more strict, I think nobody will object. If you want to have free commits for everyone, then probably there will be a veto, but I guess that's not the problem.
I mean, I guess the only thing here is it's the RFC is specifically for the default branch. Have you talked about expanding that to a list of branches?
I think that will be somehow possible.
Okay.
I don't know yet how, but
sure.
Somehow these requirements will come also from other teams, so we need somehow a way to override. There will probably for the most of the projects it will be generated automatically, and then maybe if you have for your project a special configuration in this file, then this one is taken. And
right.
yeah, maybe some minimum checks that your configuration is not lighter than the one that would be generated, something like that. I don't yet know yet how.
Makes sense.
Yeah. That's basically everything that I have.
Okay. Yeah, good. I don't have any other topics right now. Yeah, we have backlog items for all planned improvements, make the pipelines more stable, migrate the remaining environments, and yeah, for FS4, I also now have a better feeling how to proceed, and yeah. Okay.
Of the items to do, are there things that you particularly want to pick up, or are there things that you want us to pick up? How do we want to handle prioritization and actually tackling these things?
Yeah, so we have, unfortunately, still not a very good public backlog because the details are in our internal backlog. Yeah, there's of course enough to do. Yeah, the timeout scales pipeline is not yet migrated.
Do we need to keep that? That was I thought that was a test pipeline for the different VM sizes.
Yes, exactly. So at least we agreed to migrate the pipeline in one of the last meetings. And I mean, if you like, you can of course do this. This is for finding the optimal settings of the CATS tests. And yeah, these are still set up with CF Toolsmiths.
Right.
Okay, so we need a new account. No, we need a new environment in our account. Yeah, so I mean, if you like, I mean, Carsten has already migrated the test environment, so this should all be rather easy. If you like, you could pick this one.
Well, I mean, my thought for this one is that I don't think we really, it's not something that we would generally be running, but again, I wasn't here for the last meeting to know why we decided to keep it.
I think we talked, it came up because we never actually implemented any changes off of it.
Okay.
And that pipeline was running using Toolsmiths environments, which updated to, in the interim of somewhere in the middle of the runs, the Toolsmiths environments were actually updated to use ops files that rendered our testing not good. Like our tests were running on more powerful environments than we thought they were running on. The bottom line is that we should not be including, I think all of our, what is it, multiple fan outs in the CFD pipeline still set the timeout scale to 2. And that's how they're passing. And we should either move that timeout scale back to CATS or like bump up CFD to make it more powerful and pass without bumping up the timeout scale. And that timeout scales thing, I still have hope for it, but we don't have to go down that route. I think we just need to decide what the best option is. And if you have a better idea than running this pipeline, I'm all ears.
No, that's fair. I thought this was, I thought we'd gotten a good run from this, and it was, we'd gotten the information we needed from it, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. So
no, I don't think that I trust the runs of this, and I can't remember why anymore.
Okay.
But something changed with Toolsmiths environment.
the main problem with cats that we have is not the time it takes to complete one run. This is more or less always half an hour. The problem we rather have is that they're still rather unstable, like here. I mean, 40 minutes, whatever. If it's stable, it's fine. It can run an hour. But I have the feeling we should probably focus more on the flaky tests and try to get those to stabilize them so that we can come to really good reproducible results. Yeah, with the Zipkin tracing, these are often failing. Yeah. So
is that because concourse and the environments run in different regions, or I mean, this is something we wanted to address, right, or rather soon to move the.
Yes, cats is, I think, still in an
that's the upgrade pipeline.
Yeah, that's the upgrade, and cats is still running in an old environment.
Yeah.
So could also be the case, but we also see flaky tests in not here, in the migrated environments. I think not too many. Okay, that looks cool. Here it's better. This is migrated.
If we maybe we could first move the environments over and see if the flakiness resolves, and then go from there.
Yeah. Okay.
If BBR moved over recently, has there been more or less flakiness?
Yes. There, not so much.
I think the strange thing there is that's not running cats, that's running
Drats.
That's running the disaster.
It's running Drats. Yeah, something else. Yeah, can't be.
So,
but BBR deploy was failing a lot.
Deploy is often failing.
Now it's failing a lot less. It looks like
less. It's often failing with Bosch timeouts. I mean, the obvious improvement is that we run 2 attempts for Bosch deploy without deleting everything again. So this should be good enough. Not sure where exactly those come from.
It's weird.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But so, I mean, the cats setup is somewhat optimized with number of nodes and these parameters. And I mean, of course, we could continue to fine tune that, but I also not sure if it's really necessary.
Maybe if from all of that I heard, maybe Dave and I can take on finishing the migration of the environments and then move on from there.
Yeah, this might be more urgent. Okay, good. So yeah, so these are the 4 environments that still need to be migrated. I can transfer this to an
it can also, us taking this on is nice because then we can more easily clean up all the old stuff as we go. So we have the access to that.
Copy this to a GitHub issue, and then you can, when these are all migrated, I think we should be fine for now. Yeah.
And then we could focus on this CF Linux FS4 topic.
Yeah.
At least try to get it moving.
Do you want us to also clean up Uptimer and get that back in a working state in terms of the PRs and getting a pipeline up and running?
Clean up what?
Uptimer.
Uptimer.
Because the reason I ask is that's blocking us on the CF on Kate's working group.
Okay,
okay. That's why we opened the PR the other day. We want to start using that to test Karifi.
Yeah, then I guess it makes sense, right? If it blocks you, I would not just go ahead.
Well, so I think, going back to that, the PR situation, the first PR has been looked at and seems approved. It's really just a question, like I say, of whether or not we want to keep the vendor directory. If we're going to keep that, then I think we can merge the first one. I can ask Julian to rebase the second one, which should make that a lot smaller. And then it will be a lot easier to reason about that.
So this one, which has already been approached, could be merged, yeah?
Right. This one keeps the vendor directory.
Yeah.
But I think it's already been reviewed. I know Jonathan and Chris, and I trust that the work they've done is going to be okay. So
okay, good. Then
but yes, while Carsten and I are working on the environments, we can talk about this and get this merged.
Okay, perfect. That would be good. Okay, then we can focus on the FS4.
Yep.
Okay. Good. I've just forgotten two minor things here, but I guess we can resolve this easily. So here, this validate certificate job turned red because this environment is now completely outdated. Is this still in use? Is this?
I mean, this is the concourse that's running the old release integration concourse.
Yeah.
So
okay, but everything is paused here, so that's
pretty much everything is paused. I think there's maybe only jump box deployment is the only pipeline that might still be running. Although that doesn't look happy at the moment for some reason.
Yeah, I think it doesn't load anything anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
I wonder why that happened.
Yeah, orange means
orange means yes, Concourse is not very happy.
Congress is not happy. Could be because of the certificates.
I thought so, but okay, I'll have to look at that. That's fine. But yes, I think we are very close to being able to just tear this environment down. So I'm not too concerned about trying to resurrect those.
Yeah, okay, it's nothing urgent. Just notice that the job turned red, and it is because of this this environment. So yeah, if you want to fix it,
yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, and this branch freshness also complained a little bit because of this branch, which has not seen any updates for quite some time. I think this was also by.
Is that the branch for the timeout scaling testing?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I can make that go green for now by just force pushing it or something.
Yeah, I was going to say we can just force push the last commit. That will...
Yeah, it's also nothing urgent.
It's just nice to have the job green so that it can alert on other things. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good. I think. Yeah. So, any other topics for today? But I think we are all set up and have enough input for the next weeks.
2 weeks from today is Thanksgiving here in the US.
Okay.
It's
so
Thursday, 24th. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know whether we want to just skip that one or meet either the week, say maybe the week after, and then we can do a slightly longer schedule, but or we can just cancel it and leave it up in there. And if if we need to meet, we can meet at
I think we can cancel it. Yeah. So
okay.
if there's anything urgent, write in the channel, and then we can set up another meeting if necessary. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanksgiving, good. Okay. So I will update the release, the Google Doc tomorrow then. So if there's nothing else,
Yeah, I think we're good.
Done.
Thank you.
wish you a
Cool.
nice day and us a nice evening.
Yeah, definitely.
And
We'll
See
talk
you.
to you soon.
see you soon again.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.